second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I ain't your son. I ain't your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
The Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I ain't your son. I ain't your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
The Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller. Have some trouble, youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
Oops. What is up, everybody? This is Silverspook, and this is the Silverspook live stream. Sorry, just trying to set this up. Anyways, yeah. So before I forget, yeah, everything that we do here is supported again by sales of Neofeud, as well as the Patreon support. Thanks again to all the continued Patreon patrons. So yeah, do consider checking that out if you have not. Especially if you're into cyberpunk or adventure games, tell all your friends, of course. Anyways, yeah. So this stream is going to be a little bit shorter today because I am going to be doing a big panel, or I'm going to be in a big panel stream later today. So just a heads up. 4 o'clock. 7 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Hawaii time. I'm gonna be on the Asia and Pacific Islander decolonization panel, which will be on the Luna Oi channel, Twitch and YouTube channel. So that's gonna be at 4. So yeah, it's a little bit unusual schedule today, but anyways, but yeah. So for today, I am gonna be talking a little, at least for some time, probably not as long, but I'm gonna try to talk for some about some very pertinent topics right now as we speak going on, and as they relate to wider struggles, obviously, particularly in the Middle East. Yeah. So again, solidarity with the unfortunately ongoing massacre of the Palestinian people. Is very terrible what's happening there. Yeah, there were actual there was Palestinian flags, and there was support from the Palestinians during our struggle on Mauna Kea, the things that you're seeing in the slideshow right now. And so you know, it is only right, and their struggle is much more deadly and direct, at least definitely directly, and they are literally locked in, particularly in Gaza, into just an overt, horrific mass murder campaign right now. So there needs to be as many eyes as we can manage there, because this is not really, unfortunately, I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. But we can at least limit the total number of deaths by having more people keeping the massacres visible, as much as possible. Like, you can literally see the Israeli soldier about to throw a grenade, and then a journalist turns the camera and points it at him, and then he decides to not throw a grenade at medics, ambulances, and injured people. So and they just blew up the Associated Press. Even the Associated Press, they just blew up the Associated Press's actual building today, or within the last couple days. I think it was yesterday. So yeah, very terrible events taking place there. I think that's incontrovertible. I mean, it is incontrovertible. And this is not unique. This has been going on for a long time. So again, yeah, I just wanted to kind of like say that, you know, solidarity from Hawaii, from another settler colonized people backed by the same empire here in Hawaii. Solidarity with the peoples of Palestine, Palestinian people. You know, anyway, I'm trying to fix my green screen, but yeah, so that's really important that we keep the eyes on it. You know, we can't really do a whole lot. We can't really do a whole lot other than really keep the visibility on it and make this as embarrassing as possible for the United States. Yeah, here's my little image that I made. Yeah, so I'll let team. There was actually, I don't have a picture. I was trying to find a picture of the Palestinian flag on Mauna Kea. There was a actual Palestinian flag on Mauna Kea. They were in support as another illegally colonized, illegally occupied territory, Hawaii. And also, my kind of point is that it's a global struggle. It's a collective struggle. The struggle against the illegal colonial occupation of Hawaii and Palestine are the same. And so is in a lot of ways the occupation of all of Turtle Island, all of North America, is illegitimate, you know. And it's not really the legality. That's not that the United States and its allies care about law. They don't have a rules-based order. The reason why they're saying a rules-based order, the reason why the U.S. is calling it a rules-based order now, is because if they brought up international law, the U.S. and its allies, and the Western capitalist, white supremacist, imperialist allies, are in such flagrant violation of international law, particularly with the U.S. $3.8 billion backing of Israel, and Biden saying they are right to defend themselves, when it's an outright slaughter, and it always has been. And Biden has been standing this thing since the founding. And Biden said, you know, if we didn't have an Israel to defend our interests, Israel is America's little pet dog, like with Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. Why? For global geopolitical imperial reasons. To stop places like Russia, China, to counter, to maintain its fossil fuel hegemony, to make money selling Lockheed Martin, a U.S. arms dealer, death cult capitalist missiles to Israel, and F-35s to Saudi Arabia, to commit the genocides in Yemen and Gaza that they all participate in. The U.S., as I bring this up a lot, but this moment is a perfect time to bring up the complete, when I say America is a white supremacist, capitalist, imperialist, rule of barbarian, democracy-free, rule of law-free empire, I literally mean all of those things. And it should be clear, in this moment, it's a very moment when it's a very planet-wide, kind of like 10 million watt glaring flashbulb of America's, you know, it's like a photo snapshot of America's rule of lawness, right? They don't have rules and they don't have laws. There's a New Moves video that was put out today, but America cares only about the Muslims in China. It cares about a few Uyghurs, but no, the Palestinians being slaughtered. 18,000 buildings to one in 2014, 300, 500 to one, just being starved to death. America don't really care, right? America, and they can't even say the word international law anymore, because if you even say the word international law, it brings up the just glaring differences between and the reason why America is there. It's really to stop the actual powers the actual powers and the global south, and forces that could prevent the U.S. from its continued pillaging, slaughter, murder, and death. You know, that's why it's there to stop the encroachments of, you know, some other places that the U.S. is currently trying to start nuclear war with. So, you know, and it knows that it can't continue. The level of hypocrisy is so great, right? it can't really continue. And it's important but the hypocrisy can go unnoticed if we don't keep the visibility of this and like because America is not gonna, its journalism is not necessarily going to put all of this on blast. It has to be like masses of just people who care, mostly regular people, who can put this thing out there. Muslims under US-backed Israel forced to starve, drink poison water, die by white phosphorus, which is, let's be clear, that it's literally melting skin off of human beings. It is a torturous, horrific way to kill people. It is literally a war crime under the Geneva Conventions. I bring this stuff up a lot, but this is a great moment to really reiterate what I often describe, right? And so Muslims under US-backed Israel forced to starve, drink poison water, die by white phosphorus, blown up by missiles. US, this is fine. Here, have $3.8 billion to keep blowing up. This is like in real time. They're watching missiles strike and kill people in these buildings. The journalists are actually got this everything on camera. You can see the actual missile. Like the missile is moving at like like greater than the speed of sound with sonic booms coming through. It's like screaming, right? But you can see it go blip blip like in 2 frames, right? You can see the missile strike the building, blow it up, and then a second one, and then 2 more hit the other side. And this is the building that actually had press in it. And the US is like, this is fine. Have $3.8 billion. Muslims in China celebrate EID. And so you have Radio Free Asia, obviously, CIA fucking mouthpiece. Muslims in China celebrate their holy day. US. They're forced to have religious freedom, human rights violation sanctions. So yeah, this is Radio Free Asia. This is basically the same. At the same time as the U.S. is backing incontrovertible, decades-long, hundreds of journalist observers documenting, even Human Rights Watch, which is what a U.S. empire rag to go and foment and drum up support for its military and its sanctions and its interventions, right? Even Human Rights Watch, way late in the game, had to admit what was happening, because it was just the hypocrisy. Again, the hypocrisy, the lies, the disinformation, right, is so glaringly obvious, right? They actually had to admit that. Human Rights Watch only goes to places like Vietnam and China to try to, or somewhere that America, or Venezuela, where America needs to further crush, destroy, and steal the resources and overthrow another regime like they did to Hawaii. Uyghurs celebrate EID in Western China under Radio Free Asia. Uyghurs celebrate their day in Western China's Xinjiang region. A source told RFA that Chinese authorities forced Uyghurs to celebrate the Muslim holiday to show that Uyghurs enjoy religious freedom. The New Moves channel really does a great job showing how ridiculous a lot of this Radio Free Asia, Voice of America, BBC, Human Rights Watch, even Indian News, which is vassal of the United States empire, Washington Post, New York Times, the way that they cover is so ridiculous. The most recent one, Xinjiang bad, Israel good. My favorite one is Uyghur teens forced to skateboard. That was one of my favorite ones. Where is that one? I'm not gonna play this because I'm gonna get in trouble on this one. But where is that one? Skateboard. Shit. Okay. I forget which one it is. BBC Inspire report. Walking elite Chinese forced to walk, Chinese forced to speak language in Xinjiang. Chinese Uyghurs forced to what was the other one? Yeah, it was like Uyghur kids forced to skateboard, but it's mocking the CIA's and the US imperial neoliberal and neocon branches of its global capitalist empire. Propaganda, right? And it's there is flimsy, there's no solid evidence of any of the human rights violations that the U.S. and its allies continue to push for, right? but they're immediately jumping on the bandwagon to sanction, to attack. But there's like again, it's like, this is how you know, right? It's really, what this should tell you is that none of these sources that are currently coming out to or refusing to come out and like unequivocally condemn the slaughter of hundreds upon hundreds and historically thousands upon thousands of innocent Muslims, right? And the missiles is only one way. 99% by the UN's own investigations of human rights investigators determined that not by 2020, virtually almost 100%, like not over 99% of all water in Gaza would be undrinkable, right? There's a documentary about this stuff, right? The Gaza Fights for Freedom, the Empire, Abby Martin's and Empire Files documentary. You can go learn about all this stuff. There is like they know that there's no water there. It's killing children. Most of the people that are dying are the children, elderly, infirm, but everybody, right, is dying because the water is unpotable, and they will not allow people to leave. They don't allow people to get basic health care. They don't. The calories are being restricted. People are starving to death. On top of literal just of just murdering with sniper rifles, shooting at journalists, shooting at medics, shooting at children. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, literally was an Israeli IDF trainer, trained the soldiers to shoot and kill and maim and target journalists, target medics, target international observers. Like literally shoot at the people that are trying to just observe and report, right? This is, it's blatantly, patently massive human rights violations. It is unequivocally genocide, and then they crush, they destroy the buildings, they encroach on the people, they literally are pulling over people, right, that are asking, they're pulling over people in the street, right, and checking, are you Jewish or are you Muslim, are you a Palestinian? If you are, then they pull you out of the car, beat you up. It's in some ways even more flagrant than, in the United States, right? Similar, obviously, what Black Lives Matter represents, and that's why Black Lives Matter and Palestine are deeply connected, and they were representatives of Palestine at Black Lives Matter actions all the time, and Black Lives Matter activists also, and also the Native Hawaiians have been as well to Palestine, into Gaza to see and to be in solidarity with those people, because the struggles are fundamentally interconnected. These are racialized. This racialized capitalism. It's racialized settler colonialism. It is an American-backed project. The United States and its friends set up the settler colonial occupation of Israel. Joe Biden himself is on camera, right, saying if Israel did not exist, it would be necessary for us to create it, and we love our friend there, right? He's to this day still backing what they're doing. He's saying Israel has the right to defend themselves. Israel has the right to defend themselves. And that's why I say the Hawaii Black Lives Matter and the Palestinians, we are all simultaneously being oppressed. In the cases of Hawaiians and the Palestinians, illegally occupied by settler colonial forces, the same settler colonial force, ultimately. It's the U.S. empire. For similar reasons. I mean, Hawaii is a jumping off point to, again, colonize Asia, particularly China. That's what it was established for. The illegal occupation in 1892. As admitted by multiple U.S. presidents, Grover Cleveland and Bill Clinton. That's a very important. It's a lily pad to jump off, like many other Pacific islands, to stomp on its way to make the fortunes of FDR, Standard & Poor's, and countless trillions have been made, pillaging Asia and particularly China, and Israel and the Palestinians is a desert people to stomp on. A people in the Middle East to stomp on as what? As a platform to launch against China and Russia from the Middle East, and to control the energy, control the infrastructure, control the resources, make money profiting from war, but also to as a lily pad in the desert outpost against the counter-imperial powers, the counter-hegemonic powers, right, of Russia and China. And that's why I have this up here, right? Which countries recognize Palestine as independent, right? Do you see a pattern here, right? Also, which countries have given, have stopped vaccine apartheid early and got hundreds of millions, if not now billions, of vaccines to the rest of the world, right? Who is allowing, say, America and its little allies, America, the global north, America, Canada, Australia, its little watchdog, its little sheriff of Asia down there, Australia with its ASPI and its Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, China, a Uyghur concentration camp photoshoppers taking a picture of a preschool and calling it a concentration camp. In ASPI down there, you've got Europe, you got Western Europe, and in this case, you've got a lot of Central Europe, Germany, France, Spain, UK, Scandinavia. You've got, all the usual suspects. Refusing to recognize recognize Palestine, to support the Palestinians. And then who you have? China, Russia, Iran, like the vast majority of the rest of the world, the global south, who China and Russia are helping, and Vietnam and Cuba and all these other allies are supporting with vaccines, supporting with and also early on to give waivers of the vaccines, right? It's all the same countries, the same places that are that are in solidarity in a lot of other ways, right? And because why? Because the people in the global north are the people that are extracting, killing, crushing, imperializing, taking 97% of Bolivia, as I often bring up, 97% of Bolivia's lithium going into German gigafactories for Elon Musk's American capitalist cars while they bust their unions, right? The same African countries, right, that are being colonized, with Senegal paying colonial tax to France, with American, German, British, you name it, all over Africa, continuing in the Congo, taking coltan, copper, steel, starting wars, crushing every country in Africa and pillaging it to this day. WTO, IMF, World Bank, neo-colonial, actual debt trap loans, and so this map of, and then you also, who recognizes Palestine? The people who back the United States and need the United States and Israel as its outpost to continue global imperialism, along with Saudi Arabia, which is, if you look at the map with the Belt and Road Initiative, which is what will link the supercontinent, right? There's an important book, the Grand Chessboard, by one of President Carter's, I forget the guy's name. I gotta go get all this facts straight. But it's there's a book that kind of outlines why the interlinking of Africa and all of Asia, and Europe and Asia, particularly Eastern Europe, would signal a decline of all of Western empires, whether that's the U.S., the UK, and then the successor of the U.S. But they all kind of, when one of the Western empires, here's the thing about the Western empires, is when one of them starts to decline, they kind of all do like a being John Malkovich and kind of just they dive into the next one, right? And so UK is starting to wane, right? The British Empire is starting to wane, the sun's starting to set on it, but America is rising, and so Britain folds in. That's why London is laundering money for Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, right? Taking $80 billion of HSBC loans to Mexican 100,000 person slaughtering drug cartels, and also laundering money for Hezbollah and Al Qaeda, who were created by the United States to do what? To counter Russia and China. Oh, that's right, with the Mujahideen, to break up attempts of the global South, attempts of the anti-imperialist world to get together, right? And HSB, and what does London do? Launder money for the U.S. So London's like, well, we can't be the empire anymore. We're not going to be the flagship. We're not going to be the giant, battleship, or now U.S. aircraft carriers, 11 aircraft carriers. China only has 2. We're not going to be that, but we'll be the accounting firm for the empire, and that's what London is, right? And then so they kind of dive into the U.S. empire, and then they do all of its worst. The most lax financial regulations is in the the LSX in London. The 08-09 financial crisis, whether that's rigging LIBOR, whether that's like laundering subprime loans, whether that's rigging the LIBOR is the price of money, whether that's laundering money for America's criminals across the world. That's what London does. And Germany and all these other entities with the Bundesbank doing ongoing backing Goldman Sachs, backing American banks, austerity, bloodletting of Greece, the fringes, and also backing the financing and neo-colonial bank actual debt traps, where you got you have usurious 6, 8 and higher percentage loans, and then they strip the infrastructure from Africa. So Europe is and doing sock dem manufacturing, right, for Tesla, right, on the backs of the continued extraction from South America, from Africa, from Asia. So Europe is a succession of it's really just one Euro-American, Euro and America and other settler colonial, because if you count Canada, Britain, Australia, these are all Britain. America is all technically part of Britain, right? So it's a Euro-American, Euro-Anglo-American and settler colonial imperial complex. It has never really fallen. It's not like the French and the British were so different, right? They go to a place, they pillage everyone, they slaughter. Sometimes it's Catholic, sometimes it's Protestant, right? Sometimes they come under a feudal Catholic conquistador. Sometimes they come under a capitalist Protestant, Anglo flag and on a Mayflower, right? And then they do more capitalist American style colonial extraction, but it's all hierarchical, it's all imperial, it's all for a oligarchy of a few, to the detriment, exploitation, and often deaths of the many. And it's a Euro-American imperial complex that has existed for planet-wide for centuries. Ultimately, goes back thousands of years. And the places that attempt to resist this, you see it on the map. And it comes back into a focal point there. Why there, right? There's a lot of reasons. Part of it, historically, the energy, particularly in fossil fuel, was becoming less central now, but it's still very important. Fossil fuels, a lot of it, and the energy resources headquartered right in the Middle East. But it's also a fulcrum point for global control, and the British sea power, right? There's a very important point, which is the sea power, which interconnects the vast majority, 2/3 of the world's economics is connected by sea. But if the Belt and Road Initiative is completed, the new Silk Road, which is it's really a recreation of a millennia-old economic trading complex, right? Which, if it is completed, undoes the 500-year history of colonial control by the seaways, right? Because suddenly, if you take Europe, Asia, and Africa, you put the Eurasian continent and Africa together, that's 2/3 of the world's population and the majority of the world's resources. And if they connect through where? Through Israel, Saudi Arabia, right in that area, through Iran, right? Through Ukraine as a central hub of the BRI, through Turkey. If they reconnect that, these ongoing colonized places, ongoing extracted global south, these countries and peoples, if it reconnects, that means that the control of the seas becomes immaterial. The number one, on top of the global world reserve currency, through the SWIFT banking system, the U.S. dollar, the fiat currency of first and last resort, right, is major weapon, right? But part of how they control the weapon is, well, obviously a military threat, but then also through economic and the flow of goods and services control through the seaways, right? That's why China is ringed in, and they have, if they blockade 1 or 2 straits on right off the coast in the South China Sea, right around Singapore, they blockade that strait, they could totally decimate China's economy, and that's why there's a push to finish this. That's why there are $300 million pushed just simply to counter the narrative. There's in $300 million worth of information psyop warfare right now going out into blue check marks, into mainstream and social media, and into grassroots astroturf independent media channels in every language, particularly in Africa, particularly in Muslim countries, to push people against the idea of the Belt, to say that the Belt and Road Initiative is a terrible, disastrous decision. Why? Because that would undo centuries of colonialism, and it would create a not perfect world, but it would create a more mutually respectful, indigenous world. That's what in the sense of indigeneity, being living in mutual respect and in harmony and in peace with people to people, country to country, people to ecology, right? As is the majority of the world's history. And if this is completed, right? Which is why Israel's critical. That's another reason. Israel's not just like, oh, we just happen to like Israel because, we just like giving them $4 billion a year. We just like letting them commit some of the greatest and most blatant atrocities ever in plain view for all the world to see, extremely embarrassingly. It's not like America just feels like letting Israel do that. America's doing that because America needs Israel to stop China, Russia, and the global South from banding together and undoing centuries upon centuries of the greatest planetary evil. That's why. That's why America cannot stop backing Israel. That's why America cannot stop backing Saudi Arabia. That's why America cannot stop, never will leave Afghanistan, and it will continue to bomb Uyghurs. It doesn't care about Uyghurs. America does not care. America, Britain, Adrian Zenz, definitely a neo-Nazi who had got his degree from a crackerjack box called the German University. Why did you give a neo-Nazi a fucking degree who cooks up statistics using 8 anonymous sources as incontrovertible evidence of genocide? Germany. Why are you doing? Why Germany's doing that? Germany doesn't really care either about human rights. Not as an imperial power. It doesn't care about science. It cares about its continued colonial extraction, so that its white German non-Muslim pencil factory workers can get $35 an hour, and so that it can have its nice healthcare for its white Germans, while the darker people, that's the way the Germans describe Muslims and Africans. And Germany is also giving money to fascist entities, including Orban at the edges, to keep hundreds of thousands of people in concentration camps, dark peoples. So Germany is a racist imperial power, and it's Nazi Adrian Zenz, who literally said that Jews will melt in hellfire or they will convert to Christianity. He's a literal anti-Semitic, like Hitler style neo-Nazi. He says Jews will burn in hell. Germany is retweeting, is sharing and putting it on a platform, because Germany is a Nazi country, who put a nice little mask on called the Green Party. And Germany does not care about science, facts, information. It cares about colonial extraction of Africa for its own personal benefit. That's why it gave Adrian Zenz a degree, from an accredited German university. That's why they keep on the German television are using him for attacks on China must stop its human rights violations, because Germany is a Nazi country. Or we'll make a decision. Fascism is when white people do to other white people what they do to black and brown and colonized people. And by extension, Germany is fascist. It's just fascist against Africa. It's just fascist against Muslims in and outside of its countries that it keeps in the concentration camps, at the fringes, at the edges of Hungary and Turkey, and in in islands in the South. Because the EU backs all of this. It's just not doing it to other white people. So there's white solidarity. That's the difference. The Nazis won World War II in Europe. Some people say the Nazis didn't lose. It's that Germany didn't win. The Nazis didn't lose. Germany lost. The entire global north has never been anything but fascist. It just doesn't usually do it. They usually don't do it to each other. They usually do it to the global south, right? Disappearing people into cars. Hey, I got a long list of 7,000 people, black disproportionately, disappearing into cars in Chicago alone. In Chicago, in less than 10 years, under a black mayor, while Obama was working in Chicago, cutting his teeth in the Democratic Party, you got 7,000 disappearances into cars, unmarked vans by unmarked cops, children forced to play Russian roulette, all human rights violations, all the worst things that which you say is going to come about under these regimes. America and Europe have been doing this to everyone across the world, and they've been backing Israel, which is doing fascism. They continue to back Israel, doing fascism in broad daylight, ripping out Palestinians out of cars and beating the crap out of them, shooting missiles, shooting children, shooting medics, blowing up buildings full of children, starving and poisoning people to death. And, and the reason why is why. Why do they have a neo-Nazi Adrian Zenz at the tip of the tongue of Washington Post, the New York Times, CBC, BBC, Democracy Now! Had Adrian Zenz come on their fucking program, despite him being a literal Nazi who thinks that women should be, and homosexuals should be unequal to straight white men, who thinks that, all these just ridiculous things, like said that the average, it's a genocide happening, and it's a population reduction with forced sterilizations. There are 4 to 6. Yet, literally, statistically, in his book, which is cited by Germany. Again, Germany citing a literal Nazi because Germany is a Nazi country. Good job, Germany. In his book, he actually cites. He says that there are 3 to 6. And Gray Zone has all of this outline. You want to go dig into the nitty gritty. There's like 3 to 6 IUDs, or in a response to comments about his just ridiculous statistics, Max Blumenthal said, how is this possible? Your numbers are way off. And Adrian Zenz, he said, like, there are 4 to 6 IUD insertions for every woman in China per day. Even academic, any self-respecting academic, right? Not that there's a lot of them, because if you were self-respecting, you would come out and you would say the truth. But most of academia in the West is just fucking imperialism with PhD characteristics, and they're all cowards. So good job, you cowards in the US, in Canada, in Europe, in Australia, in New Zealand, and all your fucking imperial allies. DUH Manoa, again, how is Palestinians are also internet connected in this way? Accredited Nazis from German universities and accredited American universities like the University of Hawaii, a place of imperial colonization, not a place of Hawaiian learning, is backing the United States and who the same fucking who's backing the imperialism on Mauna Kea, that thing you see in the slideshows? Who's backing it? The United States, Canada, 30 universities in Canada, dozens of universities in California. Gianna Napolitano, who's that? Obama's Homeland Security officer and head intelligence, planetary imperialism conductor. That's what American intelligence and American presidential cabinets are. Is currently backing the $2 billion mega project on Mauna Kea, one of many, including U.S. military bombings on Mauna Kea. And this is why I brought up this important fact. The struggle of the Muslim people, 37 million displaced, 3+ million slaughtered by the U.S. and its allies just in the last couple decades alone, since the forever war of Iraq. Also drained $21 trillion of the money that could have gone to build housing, food, healthcare, a viable infrastructure, repair all your broken water pipes, shore up your dying American actual productive capacity under neoliberal hyper-financialization to convert more neo-feudal, convert more actual cities into neo-feudal palaces with 97% wasteland landfill underneath, right? And the same places, right, that have been slaughtering and killing the Muslims around this world. The Uyghur, and just one way that I recently learned, right, that the Uyghur are actually very connected to the Native Hawaiians. Where is this one? This is a very important one. Actually, I recently found this one out. So the Uyghur Muslims are directly connected by the United States military aircraft. Where the hell is it? Ah, goddamn it, I lost it. Shit. Fuck. Okay, anyways. It was the B-52, the same B-52 bombers. Fuck. I had it in this list, but I think I lost it. The same B-52 bombers. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. The same B-52 bombers that the U.S. uses to drop 15,000 pounds of C4 equivalent. Fuck, I'm trying to get this thing to zoom in far enough. There it is. Okay. Illegally occupying U.S. empire in the sovereign country of Hawaii is still dropping bombs, mortars, drone strikes, and depleted uranium all over our sacred mountain, toxifying Mauna Kea, poisoning our water supply. This is from a few weeks ago. They're bombing Hawaii right now. They're less than 30 miles from where I am. Why are they doing that? They're preparing for massive, potentially tactical nuclear warfare in. What does that even mean? Tactical nuclear warfare. They're preparing to shoot hypersonic nuclear missiles, which they don't have yet, because China has all their semiconductors, into the South China Sea to hit Chinese carriers and large ships. And they are currently hyper militarizing Hawaii and the rest of the Pacific Islands, especially West Pacific, which is why Asia Pacific Islander Month is so important right now, because this is a major quarter of where the war the U.S. wants to fight will be taking place. I really hope that they don't fight it. Another reason why we have to keep all of this visibility as high as we can manage, because if we don't, the U.S. will successfully gaslight, pull the wool over the planet's eyes, and then wage what could be total, complete, omnicidal, ecocidal annihilation through nuclear obliteration. Nobody's gonna get to Mars. Like, let's be honest. Okay, nobody's going. You can barely land anything on Mars, and Elon Musk thinks he's gonna get to Mars. I mean, I think he's gonna have to make himself immortal, and maybe by 2100, you have to go in a New Zealand bunker. Go to your other settler colony in New Zealand. Go in a bunker under the Maori indigenous stolen land when you nuke Earth. Come out 100 years later, then you might be able to get to Mars, because you're never gonna make it at the current rate. It's really difficult to land anything, let alone inhabitable colony. But they're working really hard on AI and robotics so that the richest, most powerful white men from the Euro-American imperial complex can get their rich, white, gold-diapered Elon Musk, Gates, like Walton's, Kochs, and Jobs off of this planet and get their asses situated on Mars, and then nuke the site from orbit. And by the site, I mean everyone you know and love. The illegally occupying U.S. empire in the sovereign country of Hawaii is still dropping bombs, mortars, drone strikes, depleted uranium all over our sacred mountain, toxifying and poisoning our water supply. Just heard what sounded like carbon bombing last night. This is an article specifically about what is happening, confirming this. Training exercises. They call it training exercises. It's not training exercises. It's military war preparation. It's saber rattling, like RIMPAC, the largest planetary military exercise, which is 20 plus countries, including Israel, including Canada, including the UK, all coming to Hawaii, abusing our land, our people, the sexual harassment, the disappearances of child trafficking goes up when U.S. military and its allies show up to fire rockets, to fire American rockets, not Chinese rockets. Oh my God, Chinese rocket! It's like Chinese rocket accidentally lands and blows up, hundreds of Palestinians. Oh wait, no, that was American rockets. Oops. China rocket, uncontrollable, kills 3 million Vietnamese. Oh wait, no, that was American bombs and American missiles and rockets killing the Vietnamese. Oh, oops. Chinese rocket, hits a wedding party in Pakistan. Oh, uncontrollable. Oh wait, no, that was American rockets bombing from Hellfire drones. Shot from PS4 controller stormtroopers sitting in somewhere in a U.S. military base. Oops. Nope, American rockets again. So no, they're not training exercises. These are war exercises. This is war mongering. This is also putting radioactive waste and other heavy metals and poisonous materials into our land. This is also illegal occupation of our land. The Army said in our Friday statement, training exercises will gradually increase. The Pauakaloa training area will involve Army and Marine Corps with almost 1,000 troops on the ground. by the end of the month. So yeah, no, they are vastly increasing the military presence here, which is terrible. I wish they would all go the fuck home. And again, rules-based order. By the admittance of the multiple presidents, the entire occupation, the United States state of Hawaii, illegal state of Hawaii courts actually teach that to pass the Hawaii bar exam as a lawyer, to become a lawyer in Hawaii, you have to study in the official state accredited universities. You have to know to pass the bar to practice law in Hawaii that the existence of the state of Hawaii is illegal, and it's actually been used in multiple cases and won. Right, so America is so hypocritical. The level of lack of rules basedness in the U.S. is so terrible that they even are forced to teach their lack of rules based Hawaii state existence in their own law schools. That's how terrible at following rules America is. That's why I say it's a rule of law free. It is absolutely, it's barbarian, yeah, because it slaughters needlessly and recklessly. A human rights violations. There's never been a human rights ever in the U.S. and the West. The West is a history of thousands of years of trampling and stampeding over human rights, and then never apologizing and never making right any of these things, right? It's why it's a rule of law free and the democracy. What is democracy? The U.S. approval rating is like less than 50% of its government, its Senate, its president, all of them. Within months of after getting elected, the people are plummeting. Trump is terrible, but Biden, he's not what is the approval rating of the U.S. Congress? Let's just look it up. What's the approval rating of the U.S. Congress? 36%. Less than half. That the U.S. has no democracy. That's already less than half is already. You have zero democracy. That's literally that's approval rating. That's not voting. That's not only half the people vote. No, the approval rating is less than half. You have no legitimacy. America is an illegitimate government. If America was in any other country that wasn't in the global north, if it wasn't its little Swedish sock them allies, or its German sock them allies, or its freaking British tea-sipping imperial Cthulhu empire birthing mommy Britain that gave birth to this sick, disgusting, putrid pustule on the face of Mother Earth and Gaia that is the United States. If it wasn't Britain, if it's Britain, France, Germany, Sweden, America won't touch it, because that's all of its white solidarity. But if it was any other country with a 30% approval rating and some resources, America would have overthrown the shit out of this country. Right? It would have cooed the crap. We have to go down and undo Bolivia because it's an illegitimate regime. Look at that. Evo Morales only had 46, or it was like 50. It was over 50%, right? And that was America's basis, right, to put in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Democracy Now!, Mother Jones, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren both said Evo Morales has to be undone because he's an illegitimate government. But America is an illegitimate government. It's never had a legitimate government, both on legal, ethical, judicial, actual votes, whether that's approval rating of its branches of government, from the Congress to the president. Even the Supreme Court has 6,000 shadow dockets a year, rubber stamping war, apartheid, genocide, human rights violations, the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex. Every branch of the United States government is a goddamn barbarian murder fest, and also illegitimate. I mean, in Germany, at least some of the Germans are like, hey, at least I got $40 an hour German imperial gigafactory Elon Musk battery manufacturing job. So at least the Germans have some approval. Why? Because the German imperialist Nazis spread the wealth. They have National Sozialistisch, they have the Nazi party. It's called the Sock Dem Green Party of Germany. It's the Christian liberals and it's the AfD together, right? They have white German solidarity, and then they lock up all their Muslims. 15 to 20. If you're Muslim, you're dark from an African or Muslim country, you're 8 to 20 times more likely to go to prison in the EU. You're more likely to be in poverty in the EU. I mean, kind of like black people. So, Germany has not national socialism. They got what Hitler wanted.
They got what Mussolini gave, right? Which is what? Mussolini, fascist from Italy, gave the first pension. The first mass distribution of wealth to the white masses was under Mussolini. And then Hitler. And then now Europe and America are sock them country. The problem is America should give more to your white masses. Give it all to your libertarians. Don't just have like one Bill Gates or handful of Bill Gates, Bloombergs, and Gates Waltons and Koch jobs, multiplanetary conglomerate living in the fucking space stations, taking a shit on the putrid, masses of white people. No, I mean, you should care. That's the Trump party, right? Hey, we need Germany-style sock them Nazism, right? National socialism for the white, colonial, imperial peoples. National white socialism, white nationalism, right? That's what Trump wanted. I mean, if Biden could just listen to what Trump said, you might have like you might have more solidarity and you have a better approval rating from your white settler colonial people that are 76% of the United States. That's the difference between Germany and the United States. Germany gives the wealth to its white people and then locks up all its Muslims and cages them in Hungary by the 100,000. And then backs genocide in Israel. And then also calls out China for human rights violations that don't exist because Germany needs America to keep fucking threatening to nuke China and trying to blow up its order and trying to fucking sanction all its companies and ripping down. Sweden is over there ripping down all of its Huawei telecom because Sweden is a Nazi country that's in solidarity with the sanctions on China and actually hurts with H&M boycotting Xinjiang content actually hurts Uyghurs, and it knows that because Sweden is a Nazi country that has white nationalism. It has national socialism for white Swedish people. So it knows where its imperial, colonial, and for the masses, right? See, America, when it's white men yearning to breathe free the COVID era of their fellow unmasked fucking MAGA hats, right? The freedom to beat up on their wife and have 10, instead of having just like one Bill Gates, instead of having one Bill Gates, I'll turn this off for now. Instead of having one Bill Gates, one Bloomberg, one Koch brother, right, on the top, right, and one Bezos, right, with 3 million times more, making 3 million times more than the white workers, right? Why not have 200 million or have 100 million small white capitalists with lots of slaves under them, working class, disproportionately brown and black, serving the food in their restaurant, right? $3 an hour, I'll call ice, right? That's so like Germany does, right? Locking up all its Muslims, right? Calling them dark languages are not prestigious in Germany. That's why we chastise and scold children for speaking anything that isn't. Well, if they speak French and European, if you speak French and British, this is admitted by a German leftist. Actually said, if you speak French or British in Germany, that's good. That's positive. Those are prestigious languages. And they said we don't have a racism problem in Germany. We don't have a colonialism problem in Germany. We have a prestige problem. That's the prestige problem. But if you speak a Muslim language, if you speak a dark language, that means anything from Africa, anything from anywhere east, right? If you speak a yellow language, that is frowned upon. That is not prestigious. That is that is not going to be respected. That's not going to make you look good in Germany. And then because Germany is a Nazi country. So but you gotta give to the white masses, right? You gotta give to the white masses. So America, you gotta give to the white masses, particularly the white men, because America's definitely also very patriarchal. Like Adrian Zenz, a German Nazi that is on the front page of. Let me see. Let's look at Germany. Uyghurs. So Germany. I'm not joking. Germany call out China on. This is Germany condemning the Uyghurs. So here we go. Germany leads statement expressing grave concern and calling for immediate and unfettered access to Xinjiang region. What are they using as a basis for calling out Xinjiang in China? Right? What are they using for a basis? Huh? Where the fuck? Well, you're hiding your Adrian Zenz in this report. No, what it's based on is Adrian Zenz, a German Nazi, who thinks that Jews should burn in hell. Because Germany is a Nazi country pretending that it cares about human rights. And so that's the real error of the United States is you gotta give your white men, instead of having a handful of white guys with millions of slaves, have like 50 million or 100 million white men, each with 10 slaves, each with 10 serfs, right? And then abuse their wives. Like Adrian Zenz thinks that homosexuals and women should be second-class citizens, right? So you just have like lots of that way you won't look illegitimate when it comes to approval rating of your government, right? I don't know what's the German approval rating? German government approval rating. I think it's probably a little higher. German government. Oh, you're facing a massive drop in your approval rate. See, Germany, you got to do more National Socialism. You got to do more Nazism. You know, like Italy, under Mussolini. You got to do more Nazism. Germany government's facing massive drop in approval. That's too bad, Germany. Only 35% of Germans said that they were satisfied with the federal government, with 64% expressing their disapproval towards Berlin. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad, Germany. You know, you gotta do more white nationalism. You gotta do more white nationalism, because you know how are you going to keep Adrian Zenz working at the Victims of Communism Foundation and the NED State Department cutouts in the United States? How are you going to keep the money flowing if you look so disastrously incompetent, even amongst your own white imperial core, fascists, right? And that's how we do American leftism, right? You just get on a Twitch stream and just say the N-word and be super ultra racist and pretend like we're bringing Nazis over through the pipeline, right? That's called leftism in the West, apparently, right? So the survey showed 58% of Germans were either satisfied or very satisfied with Chancellor Merkel's making her the most popular political figure in the survey. But see, Merkel is still popular, you know. How did Germans view the federal and state responses to the pandemic? 90% of Germans were satisfied with their federal and state response to the coronavirus pandemic as of April. 79% disapproving. So part of the reason why they're disapproving is because they're terrible on the pandemic. So, well, you know, for what you could do is, you know, maybe, you know, this is the thing that the West doesn't want to do. It doesn't want to take any lessons from China or Vietnam or any of the other global South countries. It wants to just keep doubling down on its rational, self-interested capitalism, right? It wants to keep doubling down on its racism in all of these racist Western countries, and you know, it wants to keep doubling down on all this kind of crap, and that's why it keeps failing, because it's, you know, it can't listen because of its racism to what Asian countries are doing, to what global South countries are doing, to what China is doing, to what Vietnam is doing, to what Cuba has done, you know, what even African countries have done, right, with the support of China, with billions of dollars worth of medical aid going to Senegal and other countries from China, and teaching them important lessons on how to conduct testing and trace, right? And you know, and all of that racism is part of why the West, Europe, the US all did terrible on COVID, right? And it's an embarrassment, and you should be embarrassed. You are all embarrassments, like your human rights violations, right? And so, you know, like but I mean, you know, it's very important that people, you know, they should continue to be called out on these embarrassments. And the more that they want to continue to pretend to care about Muslims, right, in China, backed by the evidence of a neo-Nazi, backed by State Department cutouts. I mean, this is not, some of the hardest attackers were all of the satellites. Why? Because the United States doesn't want to take the flak as much as it can. It wants Australia, it wants Canada, it wants Britain, it wants especially the BBC, it wants Germany, it wants Sweden, it wants all these other places to be the number one frontline attackers, right? As the smaller imperial satellites, right? So that America can stand above. It's kind of like the vice president. The vice president is all attack dogging, so the president can look like he's above the fray, right? And doesn't wallow in the weeds of these attacks, right? That was what, you know, that's what they always say. So that you look like you're somehow more, you have the moral high ground, right? And so that's what America is doing. It's getting all of its little attack dogs in Europe, in Australia, and in Canada, these smaller satellites, smaller than the United States, to attack China, right? So they can say like, well, we're not doing. Now America is also doing this, of course. They are. The New York Times and these places, they're publishing these stories as well. But some of the hardest, most virulent, Australia is going completely unhinged at this point, saying that we have to really get ready for nuclear war. Like we have to get all the missiles prepared so that when the Chinese invasion comes to the shores of, when the Chinese invade Sydney, we have to be ready with our missiles. And they're just like completely unhinged at this point. America's even going like, you gotta slow down there. You gotta slow this. You're just sounding ridiculous now. Like when the Chinese come and they're gonna take all of our Australian children, and so we need another 75 tanks, and we have to like prepare for the nuke. We have to build bomb shelters now because we get ready for Fallout. We have to get ready to live action role play Fallout, but with actual nuclear radiation because we're gonna nuke this planet. And America's like, wait, hold on. I mean, yeah, we want to use tactical nukes because we're also unhinged warmongers. But Australia, you're sounding like just completely like you're sounding like total cartoon time. You're sounding like total Tom and Jerry time right now. You know, America's like, okay, we want you to be attack dogs, but we don't want you to like bite your own leg off. Okay, you gotta attack China, but don't bite your leg off. Okay, fabricate attacks, right? With millions of dollars of military contracts from the United States to Australian government that could have gone to Australian healthcare, housing, and affordable food, and stopping the burning of another 500 million wallabies and kangaroos this summer, when the Australian PM fucking takes another vacation to Hawaii when the rest of your country is annihilated in wildfire along with California. Okay, so you're gonna, so thanks for giving the money that could have gone to putting out your wildfires, Australia, to American military companies. Thanks a lot. But you gotta slow down. Don't get too wild on that. You gotta make the propaganda believable, because we want people to believe it. We can't just have you a little puppet Australian government, business, and non-profit entities and fucking satellite China watchers, just printing out like pictures of the Chinese, like, you can't just like print up pictures of like Satan and then Photoshop Xi Jinping's head on it. Use like anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda against the Jews, right? And then, but make it make it look like that, but put Xi Jinping's head in it, right? Which is literally what the United States and its allies have done. They use the globalist, right, with the dragon claw. We replace the Jewish hand, right, and the octopus with a Chinese dragon claw grabbing the earth, okay? For globalist conspiracy, use anti-Semitic imagery, but don't do it so obvious. Don't just take Satan's face, chop it out with a first grader grade scissoring job, right? And then just staple Xi Jinping's face onto a picture of Satan. That's not very aesthetic. Okay, so make it look like a really nice New York Times or Economist front page article with a very tastefully drawn demonization of the Chinese, okay? To push up actual Asian hatred and Asian slaughter in massage parlors, right? And also foment war against the power that stands in the way of the actual suffering of the Palestinians. We need you to be less obvious, Australia. Okay, don't be so unhinged. Okay, nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. We believe that because we're a bunch of pathological liars. But nobody else is gonna believe that if you just like do this cartoonish warmongering, right? That's why Hillary Clinton came out and said the United States needs to seize the means of production. So Hillary Clinton is sounding like a leftist. This is how upside down day everything is. So Hillary Clinton is saying the U.S. needs to seize the means of its production. What she meant was like all of this China. There is a lot all the anti-China stuff. All the Xinjiang Uyghur, China bad. That economic, Huawei, they're stealing our technology, the IP. It's like America is. A lot of people. Some people are gonna stop. It's not gonna work as well if we still have 100 million food insecure Americans. People worse off now than they were. Black people worse off now than they were in the 60s. We have $16,751 electric bills in Texas, right? And we're giving $6 trillion straight to the top 10 richest people in the United States and their corporations. And meanwhile, we're deindustrializing. We can't make a 737 MAX aircraft that flies because we're making them out of RC car engines taped to a side of a Mountain Dew can with duct tape, right? That are still exploding. American planes are dropping more actual engine parts all over American houses than any China rocket. You know, America is like, Hillary's like, we got to maybe we got to make a plane with our means of production that doesn't cause $40 billion in collapse of the #1 flagship export of the United States actual productive economy. Maybe we should like invest in making some actual cars, maybe making some semiconductors, because we got none. We're 1.2 million short on GM and Ford trucks and cars, and we're like we are short on oil. Maybe pay your programmers more than fucking $7 an hour. You know how much the Boeing aircraft engineers, software engineers that were making advanced adversarial network AI programming in the autopiloting systems in the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft? You know how much they were paid? $9 an hour. Hillary's like, maybe we should, you know, the broken clock is right twice a day. You know, maybe we should like pay our programmers more than $9 an hour to maintain central integral electrical grids and fossil fuel pipelines. I mean, not the fossil fuel is good, but I mean, like, if you want to have the fuel for people's cars and the trucks to transport the Baby Yoda t-shirts and the Mandalorian Funko Pops that are the lifeblood of our economy, and even the military aircraft, maybe we should, like, pay our programmers more than $3 an hour, starving to death, right? Because when you're starving to death, this is how you know, you don't need really competent hackers. And, you know, this whole Russian hacker thing is just, well, I mean, let's do some more anti-Russia, global South imperialism and just throw the Russian hacker thing out there, because why the hell not, right? Biden has come back and said it. He said, like, it's not the Russian state, it's not the Russian government that was behind this. He's probably rolling it back because it's like, it's just getting too embarrassing at this point. It's part of them. It's part of, like, you know, this propaganda is just getting embarrassing. But, you know, if you would pay your programmers that make Boeing 737 aircraft and manage the IT for critical power and utility grids that are the entire infrastructure of your country, if you paid them more than $9 an hour, I work with IT even at a nonprofit, and the guy was being paid dismally. He was like 30 something. He had like fully gray hair. He was like smoking. His face was falling off. His wrinkles. He's like so stressed out because he's like making $35,000, driving a 20-year-old Toyota like me, and he's like, you know, and then, you know, suddenly things get hacked. You know, it's like you don't need you don't need like Neo and Trinity and Morpheus with like, you know, like level 25 Super Saiyan hacking abilities to hack the U.S. infrastructure grid. All you need is just send a DM, you know, on Twitter to a disgruntled fucking infrastructure employee and go like, hey, do you want your student loans paid off? You're like, yeah, I'm sitting on $200,000 of student loan, working for $3 an hour at this piece of shit Boeing factory, or in this pipeline grid, or in this electrical grid. What the fuck am I even doing here? And all you do is say, hey, you know, hey, like CD Projekt Red employee, oh yeah, I'm just being paid like fucking $10 an hour. I'm paying $9 an hour to work at this garbage Polish cyberpunk, you know, Grand Theft Auto reskin with 80s retro future AAA game company. This is terrible. I hate this company. Hey, leak a bunch of critical codes and locations of computer bases and admin passwords, and I'll give you like I'll pay like your student loan. And like, sounds good. Fuck this company. And then guess what? Everything's leaked. Everything's hacked. Oh, hey, how much is your mom's medical bills again? IT for that Colonial pipeline, was it 15,000? Hey, 15,000. Here's $15,000. Okay, give us all the critical infrastructure software and the give us the reverse engineering for the American Stuxnet viruses that it used to try to decimate and successfully decimated Venezuelan pipeline, and then call it a Russian hack. Hey, give us all of that. Give us all of the backdoors and the 0-day attacks on your pipeline, okay? And he's like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not making enough to pay my mom's bills because America's paying me fucking $9 an hour. Fuck this company. I'm paying my mom's medical bills. I'm paying my dad's COVID $20,000 5-day COVID hospital stay. Fuck you, Colonial Pipeline. It's not very hard, you know. And then you got it all. You don't need Russian. You don't need fancy Russian hackers. You don't need it's not sitting around with like techno music, listening to Orbital with fucking neon glowing green laser light shooting at your fingers, playing Johnny Mnemonic, banking and diving in like a neon Star Warsian, shooting of missiles into a reactor core in cyberspace. No, you just, hey, are you a disgruntled employee anywhere in America, public, private, or nonprofit? Hey, give us all the passwords and give us your is your boss an asshole? You're like, well, you're in America, right? Oh, fuck yeah, my boss is an asshole. Fuck that guy. Hey, give us your boss's admin password. Okay, just go look at the post-it notes that the 70-year-old wrote on the wall while he was collecting his $400,000 a year salary, and then going to Cancun and stopping over to have fucking beer with the Saudi F-35 purchaser in Hawaii. Give us your boss's passwords, and then let's hack your military grid. Let's hack. Yeah, fuck this shit. I quit this job. 15,000. Yeah, fuck this job. Right? That's it. America's neo-feudal plutocratic, impoverishment of its working classes, white people of color, internally colonized or otherwise, is a security threat. That's your security threat. That's your security threat. I mean, if you really want to take care of your security, freaking stop being a capitalist shithole. But no, America won't, so it'll keep getting hacked and destroyed. So that's fine. No, actually, I take that back. No, America just keep being charitable because, the sooner that you don't exist, the sooner that we will stop being illegally occupied by your aircraft carriers and your 180 million gallons of spilling gasoline, which the Chinese, Hawaiians and Chinese and the Vietnamese will work together to clean that shit up. Because you won't be here anymore. So no, go keep paying all of your IT crowd fucking $2 an hour and with tips. Keep paying all. Here if you polish your boss's shoes, I'll pay you $2 plus tips. If you remember my Twitter and my Instagram password for me today, I'll pay you $2 plus tips. If you run down Starbucks 10 times today, if you stay all weekend, maybe you'll get your full wage. So fuck all those people, right? No, America, keep paying garbage to all of your key infrastructure. That's a good idea. Like I said, I'm willing to accept there's a lumber shortage. We're trying to rebuild things at the Silver Spoon Cooperative, but I'm willing to accept the ongoing lumber shortage that means that we're going to pay twice as much for 2x4s. Again, thanks to everybody who has been a patron and supporter of Neofeud, because it's literally supporting the continued construction of more native Hawaiian housing, because the United States is not going to give us any. The United States is giving us 100-year waiting list so we can all die homeless while waiting for affordable housing. That's America's solution. And also displacing us. Like so many Palestinians, but with less missiles, but displacing us with Mark Zuckerberg's 600-acre purchase of Kauai, shoving us off of our fishing, kalo, agricultural, and medicinal gathering grounds. That's America's solution. Is just we're being occupied, but not by a bunch of Israeli settlers. We're being occupied by fucking Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison buying of our entire fucking islands as we speak, and other rich white people. So it's not that different from the Israelis who are very similar to the American white supremacy. It's a supremacist state. So we have a bunch of supremacist rich asshats gentrifying us. It's not that different, but less missiles, less complete cage starvation. Hawaiians are starving. My friend Positive Synergy almost died of malnourishment and dehydration because water was $500. We are being poisoned by our water. That's similar, but we're not being locked into that, and it's not 99% unpotable. But it's getting there with the U.S. military fossil fuel polluting our aquifer on Oahu. So we're getting to 100% poisoned water for Hawaiians, and it's $100, $125 a month per person. So a family of four be paying $500 a month to drink water. So and so it's not that different ultimately, and it's not that different for Indigenous people in Canada as well, who are also have boil water advisories that have lasted decades. So it's an ongoing struggle, and if the United States would like to continue to give its richest and its most powerful, to not be a sockdem national socialist Nazi country like Germany, and keep giving only the top 1%, the globally super empowered, the billionaire, the neo-feudal capitalist billionaire class. If they want to keep giving the billionaire class, the CEOs of the mega corporations and their top executives billions of dollars, and then pay everyone else pennies to maintain their electrical grid, their production, their factories, their power grid, their fossil fuel pipelines, their military electrical grids, their aircraft carriers. The military is also even in some places like falling through the cracks because they're outsourcing even their own housing to Australian subcontractors that have falling apart houses that have bed bugs. The kids are sleeping in rat feces because the Australian maintenance of military housing in places like the Army, Marines, and Air Force bases in Oahu, in Hawaii, are falling apart because Australian companies can make more money not fixing the houses and just pocketing it from the U.S. military. But if you want to keep giving the richest money and hollowing out your productive, actual power, United States, that's totally fine with me. Let the wood price go up to $300 for a 2x4. That's fine. Let the plywood go up to like $1,000 for one 4x8 plank. We're gonna have a hard time. If I gotta go and cut down, some albizia trees, they're not very good. If I gotta use some ohia logs, hopefully the ones that some of them are kind of falling down over there. If I have to go mill some Hawaiian lumber because you can't make any more, I've done it before. I've Alaskan milled with a chainsaw on a flat table. I've Alaskan milled ohia to use as posts, and I made a bench out of it before. If I gotta mill Hawaiian wood because America cannot make any lumber because it doesn't have any productive forces, because it's giving billionaires all the money and shutting everything down, and it continues to do apartheid, and now it's telling everybody no wear masks. If you want to continue to not have any more cars, right? And we're trying to find a car, and it's like fucking $6,000 for a 20-year-old car. What is this? The brand new cars has doubled in price. Ford GM used to be 20, now it's 40,000. America, if you want to not make any cars, if you want to not make any semiconductors, and let China destroy you and demolish you economically, right? Because you don't want to invest in your productive forces. Go ahead, that's fine. We'll drive a 40-year-old Toyota. We'll fucking Flintstone it. We'll rip out the bottom of our 40-year-old Saturn and the Toyota after it dies. We'll put on we'll get really buff calves. It's gonna be really working out. Gonna do lots of toe raises, lots of squats. We're gonna get really CrossFit. I'm gonna grab my bowling ball glutes, because we're gonna be fucking Flintstoning it to work. I don't care. Don't make any cars. It's fine. Charge $2 million for a new cheapest Honda Civic. Whatever, U.S. Destroy yourself. If you wanna let your pipelines get hacked, and there's a gas shortage, and when we go to get gas, there's no gas, so oh shit, well, good thing we're Flintstoning it. Or let's put solar panel on our fucking bike. We'll fucking Vietnam style. I'll fucking backpack or moped with two 3-gallon containers on the side of my fucking back, or on my solar moped, to the fucking water place to get our drinking water. We'll suffer that. If America wants to just annihilate its entire energy infrastructure and all of its clean water, here at the Big Island, we have some clean water. We're not drinking fucking frack water with lead and copper seasonings that smells like burning plastic, dog feces, and liquid Drano blended up. So, if America, if you want to destroy yourself, if you want to destroy yourself so that the U.S. empire can end, Palestine can no longer be occupied by your U.S. back. Without America's backing, Israel doesn't exist. So if you really want to liberate Palestine, if you really want to liberate all the 37 million displaced Muslims, the 3 million, to start to make justice on the 3 million that have been killed, the planetary global extraction to the tune of trillions, the suffering and the death, the slave markets in Libya, countless African countries that are being de-developed as we continue to speak, by the United States, being supported by other global South socialist countries, but being de-developed by Europe and Africa. If we want liberation for the billions, America, fucking destroy your economic infrastructure, right? Keep paying pay your IT crowd 1 cent. Get yourself hacked. Just destroy yourself. That's totally fine. Just keep doing that. And the sooner that you fucking die along with all your European sock them Nazi allies, the sooner that we can get onto a socialist project. And it's gonna hurt for a bit for everyone in every imperial metropole. It's gonna hurt when you fall. It's because America is gonna offload suffering onto a lot of people who have already suffered a lot. Not nearly as much as the Palestinians. Americans have suffered terribly, but you're not even close. You're not even close to what it's like to be in Iraq. You have a blue sky. You're like, oh shit, well, I could die because I can't get my $400 diabetes medication, which is terrible. But you don't die because you look up, today it's a blue sky, and you want to hold a Black Lives Matter. You can hold Black Lives Matter posters, but if you hold a Iraqi Lives Matter poster, and then it is a blue sky, some American fucking 6-figure coder for Facebook, who is now working for the U.S. military, programming the facial recognition and the guidance seeking and the heat seeking missiles, and he's playing PS4. He's playing World of Warcraft with one PS4. He's playing World of Warcraft with his mouse and keyboard, and then he plays with his PS4 controller. Shoot the Iraqis, right? And then you're gonna get yourself killed in Iraq, getting shot by an American gamer. making $100,000 a year because they work for the U.S. military. See, you want to make money on Twitch. Don't play Call of Colonialism, okay? Don't play, first-person shooter. You want to make a lot of money? Join the U.S. military. The #1 U.S. military recruiting tool is esports and gaming, especially military simulators. Join the U.S. military. You can make $150,000 a year plus GI Bill plus cost of living allowance to shoot real missiles at children in a Muslim country, and kill some Muslims for America, right? That's how you make the money. You want to make money? Go blow up some children in Palestine. That's how you make the real money. You don't make any money fucking playing no Twitch games, unless you're fucking fed to. That's the next step. America just has U.S. military playing collateral murder, like what Assange actually playing collateral murder on Twitch, right? That's how you know that you've got into a real new stage of imperialism, when they're just like broadcasting their war crimes at that level. And people, and then all of America and Germans are all tipping. Adrian Zenz is over there tipping U.S. military, drone pilots, right? Going like, hey, good job blowing up all those Palestinians and all those Reuters journalists, and blowing up all of those, hey, good job blowing up all those Uyghurs in eastern Afghanistan and fomenting actual terror. Hey, Adrian Zenz tipping you on Twitch. That's the next step. That's probably, hopefully that'll be the final step. German Nazis tipping American gamer / military industrial complex Palestinian murderers for the awesome frags that they did. Good frag of that apartment building and the Palestinian child. Bonus points. Just like Americans would pay $25 for the scalps of indigenous people. Adrian Zenz is gonna pay you $25. $25 worth of little diamond sub bits and bytes. For each Palestinian child. And then you get 25 for a man. 20 for a woman, 10 for a Palestinian child on Twitch. That America, you got to roll that out. You got to roll that out. That way you can really get this planetary genocide factory going, right? And you can do what you did to the indigenous peoples of the United States and Canada, with the settler colonial states of Canada. You can do that, like, even more hardcore in Israel, and make lots of money. And a lot of people can get blue check mark fucking CIA money, right? Pretending like this is all justified, right? And saying shit like, oh, Israel has the right to defend itself all over Twitter, right? A lot of people could be making a lot of money right now. That's how you can get your economy going. Just have everyone in America work for the CIA, right? Get all the Latinas to come out, and then everyone else. So if you're really good at typing and tweeting, and you have an English degree, literature arts, you can just tweet out Israel super based. And then if you are a gamer, you can shoot the missiles, right? You can shoot the missiles for Israel, That way, you can telecommute to Israel and just shoot the actual Scud, shoot the Tomahawk, You can shoot the, you can telecommute to Israel. And you can telecommute, well, you're telecommuting to Afghanistan already. So that's the next step. And then you can really liberate this planet from their lives and their functioning societies and ecology and resources, especially. So, anyway, that's my 10-year plan for the U.S. military. There you go. You got it now. But anyway, we got to get out of here because I'm going to be streaming again later on. With Asian and Pacific Islanders for this. We're going to be streaming with the Asian and Pacific Islanders for this panel called Asian and Pacific Islander Decolonization. So I'm going to get out a little sooner than I usually do. Asian and Pacific Islander Decolonization, which will be today. I'm sorry I got the time wrong, but it's today at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Got it wrong on the first flyer. On Luna Oi's channel, I believe also the Twitch channel for Luna Oi. And it's going to have Luna Oi, a Vietnamese comrade from Vietnam. Everyone in Vietnam, it's freaking Vietnam. They fought every imperialist, every colonizer, and won. Possibly one of very few countries to manage that feat. Particularly from the 20th to the 21st century. We have Shah Muriel Ongo is a Palauan Micronesian activist in Oregon, I believe. And there's also obviously myself, Native Hawaiian, decolonizing activist, obviously. And then we have Tim, also known as Conquest of Dread, who is indigenous Maori from New Zealand,
also known as Aotearoa. Aotearoa, also known as New Zealand, by the settlers. And then we have Kavika Guillermo, also known as Dr. Chris Pye, Crispy, or Chris Patterson, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, who is a Asian and Pacific Islander, and has family that are also from Hawaii, from the same place that I'm from, actually. So that's gonna be really interesting. And actually, myself, Kavika, and Shaw have all spent time in Oahu, in Honolulu. Some or have family there. So this is gonna be the Oahu. This is gonna be colonized people talking. We're gonna talk a little bit about Hawaii and Oahu in particular. I think that might come up, as it should. Because why? Because Hawaii is the head of the Indo-Pacific Command. It's the head of the planetary Death Star's operations at the moment. So do check that out. Coming up later. Once again, I just wanted to jump on here. Again, the main thing, you take nothing else away from this, is we are in one global struggle, again, against the illegal settler colonial occupation of Palestine, which mirrors Hawaii, very much so. People showing up in a place that used to have peaceful coexistence in Palestine between Christians, Muslims, and Jews, and settler colonial occupation happened. Racism fomented, inequality, ghettoization. The Gaza is just a giant open air prison, and continued gentrification and pushing people off of land in Hawaii through vast cost of living skyrocketing while wages plummet, and banning of our language, banning of our culture. In Israel, with everything that we've talked about, the settlements, the forceful shoving of Palestinians out of their homes, out of their communities, displacement by Israeli settler gentrification projects, full-on military slaughter, not war, slaughter. But these are backed by the same U.S. empire under the Western imperial capitalist complex, and we must stand united in this struggle, because we alone, Hawaiians alone, Palestinians alone, the internally colonized black peoples and other black and brown and indigenous and people of color in the United States and other Western countries that oppress their minorities, we alone, I believe, cannot win this struggle, and so that's why it's really important for us to unite in solidarity, as we have, as on Mauna Kea. We had Palestinian representatives here in Hawaii in our struggle on Mauna Kea, and there are Hawaiian also activists that have gone to Palestine. Same for Black Lives Matter. We also stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, and also and I know Black Lives Matter stands in solidarity with Palestine as well. And so this is really key, as I've said before, for counter hegemony, because any one of us alone cannot resist something as massive as the U.S. empire and its allies. It is multi-trillions of dollars. It is a planetary, military, and economic hegemony that is being challenged, and we also have to recognize that we can do harm reduction, and we must continue to do harm reduction for the Palestinian peoples by witnessing and sharing the atrocities that are ongoing there. As everywhere else, we must continue to witness and maintain visibility to minimize the, as I often brought up, what's the difference between Mauna Kea and the Middle East, right? We have more light, and we have building. We have white. We're in the imperial core, and there's too much cameras and there's too much visibility on Mauna Kea, and there's too many rich white children who are seeing and witnessing it. It's too close, right? If you're 6,000 miles from the imperial core, they can shoot missiles and blow you up. If you're in Iraq, in the dark, they slaughter you at will, right? In the dark alleys of Honolulu, the police slaughter and continue to slaughter Hawaiians and mass arrest them and incarcerate them in the dark with nobody watching, right?
the visibility and the optics is what makes it very difficult for places that are trying to appear as though they are civilized, respecting of human rights, right? And so that's why we have to continue to witness these things, because in the dark is where the greatest murder, I mean, literally at night, that's when the Israelis, that's when the Colombians, another terrible atrocity in South America backed by the United States, happens. And so we have to continue to witness. We have to continue to share these stories, particularly when they're at peaks of the brutality. Like right now, it's in Palestine. That's why I'm doing this. And also witness those who refuse to condemn these atrocities, right? Witness those which news organizations, which individual. Adrian Zenz literally said, "I'm sick of all of these tankies demanding that I speak out for the Muslims in Palestine. Why should I?" Right? And watch what people who is there for these people, right? Who is calling out the people behind them, right? Not Europe, not the West, not Germany, not Sweden, not Canada, who's gonna attack their big founding funding military from which the colonial spoils flow, the wealth of Africa in the global south. They're not attacking America. So watch how these countries, their politicians, their governments, their big and small influencers, look at in your community who is not there for the Palestinians right now, who were there to call out the Chinese alleged, with no solid evidence, genocide and human rights violations against the Uyghurs. But who is out there for that with flimsy evidence, and who is not out there to support the Palestinians and condemn the abusers? That's how you start to see the lines that are being drawn, right? I mean, because it's like when the shit hits the fan, right? You start to when the going gets rough, you see who is in it for the liberation and who is just in it for the money, for the power, for their colonial spoils, for their continued billionaire imperialism, or sock them white national Nazi imperialism, like with Adrian Zenz. For the masses of people. And so that's why we have to continue to witness and also witness, that it we can reduce the harm reduction, but ultimately there will be no liberation of Gaza, black people, or anyone. The slaughter will continue until there is no imperialism, and those forces that stand against it, those forces which represent the greatest threats to the United States and its allies. We don't have to love them. We don't have to hug these very large 1.4 billion person countries, some of them, but we have to witness what they represent in a rational, evidence-based, empirical, not racist way, because working with them, I believe even Hawaii, we cannot fight the US military ourselves, of course not. And the US does not hear human rights. You cannot appeal to the morality. It will take might, it will take force, not necessarily military, but military threats, and then economic power and informational struggle, and a variety of these, a hybrid of diversity of tactics to win the liberation of Hawaiians. We cannot do this alone. It would be hubris, and it would be unrealistic and naive to believe that any of our individual peoples could individually win these fights alone. Maybe the Vietnamese, although the Vietnamese did have support. The Vietnamese did have support from some larger countries that a lot of people don't like, and there are legitimate criticisms to be had. But we also have to recognize when countries are on the largest, and when, as Lenin and Mao pointed out, right, when we are fighting against the primary contradiction, we cannot let while we cannot ignore our internal problems to just fester, we also cannot allow those to stop us from fighting the primary contradiction. What is the primary contradiction? Global imperialism, capitalism, military-industrial complex, headquartered in the United States and with its allies. And so we cannot lose sight of that. And I gotta stop talking because we gotta get out of here. But
Thanks everybody for hanging out. Again, everything that we support here is supported by the sales of Neofeud, which is a cyberpunk game. It is made on Steam. It is on Steam and is on itch.io. I will check the chat after this. I'm just gonna quickly go this because I gotta get out of here, eat lunch because we gotta stream later on. I gotta save some boys. But check out Neofeud. It's on Steam. It's on itch.io. It is a game about my experiences as a native Hawaiian, as a social worker, as a STEM teacher, growing up in a beautiful place, one of the most beautiful places, but where our Hawaiian language was banned, where we were ghettoized, and under one of the worst oppressions of neoliberalism, capitalism, racism, colonialism, and police slaughter, and the prison industrial complex. And Neofeud deals with all these, and the military industrial complex, which occupies us. All of this is dealt with in Neofeud. And if you have a second to leave even a very short review, it is greatly appreciated, as it helps us to continue to house and feed and buy more $200 for a 8-foot 2x4 so that we can put up more housing for our fellow native Hawaiians and anyone. But, you know, obviously the Hawaiians that are here, we're trying to house them and feed and clothe everybody here in a non-capitalist, cooperative hui, the Silver Spook, which is a Hawaiian word that means cooperative, collective, worker-owned cooperative, hui, and commune. And if you have, and also if you're a leftist, remember, this is a review from Steam. Neofeud explored the depths that makes up our capitalist reality, and I found the game Neofeud to be a multidimensional representation of Marx's Das Kapital. It is received as a labor of love, one that speaks to the cultural references of our generation. So, also, if you're a cyberpunk or adventure game fan and you like satire and comedy in the vein of Taika Waititi, I would say like Taika Waititi directs a 90s point-and-click adventure game, or Disco Elysium crossed with The Matrix, Blade Runner, and Ghost in the Shell. If that sounds interesting to you, do check it out. You can also find Neofeud on itch.io for Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can find it DRM free. You can find it also on sale on itch.io. And you can also support us through Patreon at patreon.com/Neofeud. If you become a patron, you do get access to the Silver Spook Discord, and you can hang out with our friends and comrades there. And you get some inside scoop on what's happening in the production of Neofeud 2, which I'm currently working on as we speak. And you also get to support in an ongoing basis all the education and the decolonization work that we do here at Silver Spook Games and Silver Spook Commune and Silver Spook Hui. You can also follow at Silver Spook. Not today, CIA. I will resist your thought. No, it's not. It's just. I think it's just a website slimming up. Anyways, you can follow at Silver Spook Games at octodon.social. Once it loads, don't follow the U.S. military's. Don't join in the training exercises on Pauakuloa. That's not what I wanted. Okay, I don't know what's happening right now. Anyways, you can follow us at Silver Spook. Oh, is it going now? No, there we go. Okay, you can follow at Silver Spook Games at octodon.social. Mastodon is a decentralized, federated social media platform, which has no capitalist, billionaire, mega corporation funding its continued lying and misleading and shadow banning and undoing the retweets of people that are tweeting things that Israel doesn't want tweeted, deleting indigenous accounts when they resist pipelines, fossil fuel pipelines like Colonial Pipeline, well, not Colonial Pipeline, but other pipelines, removing Black Lives Matter activists' accounts from Twitter by the multi-thousands on Breonna Taylor's court cases during her major events regarding her. And Mastodon doesn't do that kind of thing, and it's not really possible because it's decentralized, federated in a social media platform. So I recommend checking it out, especially if you're an activist. And you can also follow, however, while we have access to the Death Star satellites, you can follow. I noticed like a bunch of people retweeted something I said about Gal Gadot, and it had to do with the Palestinian slaughter, and it got forced unretweeted. That was one interesting thing. I was like, retweet. I saw like 3 retweets, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Good job, good job, U.S. empire, with your surveillance capitalist digital arm in Silicon Valley, deleting
legitimate criticisms of your human rights atrocities that you're backing. So, while we still have access, though, right? Because it would look unbecoming. It would be embarrassing. It'd be embarrassing for the U.S. to just delete everyone's account when they say anything bad. So we still have some access, right? That's why we hope China and Russia continue to exist. Because then, if it wasn't for them, America wouldn't be embarrassed into attempting to give you production, and there would be no $5.8 trillion attempt to do stimulus. You know. Anyways, you can follow at SilverSpook Guy. You can also follow at SilverSpook Games for the games related stuff. Where is it? At SilverSpook Games for games related stuff. Minus the E in silver. Things like when Neofeud 2 is coming out. When Neofeud 1 goes on sale and all that kind of things. You can follow at Terminus Cyberstar, at Terminus C for things related to another game I'm working on. Terminus Cyberstar is a sequel to Terminus Machina. Fun fact, Terminus Machina was greatly inspired. A anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist cyberpunk 3D RPG created by myself based on the Deus Ex engine. And it was inspired greatly by the slaughter and the human rights atrocities and crushing of the Palestinians in Gaza. And so the sequel, Terminus Cyberstar, in which you play a homeless escapee from a ICE concentration camp in a very America-like planet that it's not in Earth, but it's basically like space America. And you play an escapee as an illegal alien from a concentration camp, trying to survive the drone strikes, mass surveillance, and the AI automated robotic police that are trying to capture you and put you back inside of a concentration camp or kill you. So it's very much a political game, like all my games. I don't make apolitical games, and I don't do apolitical streams. I try sometimes, but I usually can't do it. So if you want to follow that, check out Terminus Cyberstar, which will be coming out sometime in the near future, made by a small team of myself and a handful of other programmers, artists, writers, musicians, and level designers, etc. I would like to thank all of these Patreon patrons here. Dave, James Wheaton, Mixzilla, Mr. Brewer, Belinda Anteater, Chaotic Capybara, Industrial Robot, Johnny C, Alana Montero, Sean Conlon, Danny Carroll, Eric Wright, Jared Morgan, Swampcroft, The Reaver, Child, Telltale, Right 455, Matthew Stone, Alexander Berger, Albert House, Alfonso Delazar, Combo Breaker, Lark, Miro, Scarlett Smith, Tim Cabooders, X Raff, Tiny Earl, Michael McAllister, Extremely Online Left, Ted Chillington, Beast Coat, Dename Paname, Adam M. Smith, Matthew Cabrera, J.O. and Sean Lynch, and Josian Antonio Hernandez. Thanks for your continued support. It is massively appreciated. I will check the last little bit of chat. If the computer works. Nothing is political. Oh man, I'm mad late. Oh, that's okay. No worries. Nobody is free until everyone is. We need to be united against the U.S. military. I mean, that's how it goes. That is how it goes. Until next time. Well, until 4 o'clock Pacific time. Sorry, 7 o'clock. I always forget. 7 o'clock. I don't keep saying that. 7 o'clock Pacific time is 4 o'clock Hawaii time. 7 o'clock Pacific time. We will be on the Luna Oi channel with the Pacific Islander panel. Okay, so we'll see you then. And I'll probably be streaming on Twitch for a bit after that, just like playing games and chilling out. So, which is probably around 6. So, normal Twitch time, but don't forget the Luna Oi, Asian and Pacific Islander, Real Talk, Decolonization panel on the Luna Oi channel.